What up, Kane fans? Welcome back to the Cafecito and Kane show, Friday afternoon edition. Gloomy, rating Friday afternoon if you're here in Miami with me. It has been pretty nasty all day, unlike the rest of January, which has been amazing. But please hit that like button if you are dropping in. Say what's up in the live chat, and yeah, let's talk some recent Canes news. So obviously, the biggest story of these past few days is Coach Derek Nicholson, will be leaving Miami. He will no longer be the linebacker coach here. I think not a lot of people are shocked by that one because the new defensive coordinator, Corey Heatherman, specializes in linebackers. He is most likely going to be the linebacker coach. I don't know if he's going to hire a linebacker coach of his own at this point. Probably will have the help of some analysts. But when I saw that he was hired, I thought, okay, likelihood is high that D. Nick is probably on his way out. Name one linebacker that improved under him. Listen, man, I know there's a lot of criticisms of Coach D. Nick based on strictly the on-field performance of the linebackers. Yeah, the linebackers, in my opinion, performed in 2024 mediocre to bad, pretty much for the entirety of the season. 2023, they performed much better. You saw some progress by Wes Basaint. You saw a really good year by Kiko. It just wasn't a very deep group. Unfortunately, Chase Smith was hurt, so you didn't get to see him much. And then you go to 2024. Really, you expected at least the same or similar production from Kiko Mawinoa. Big drop off there. I think they started to not only put him in bad positions, not like play to his strengths, but also opposing teams knew how to like kind of expose him. And then you had Wes Basaint, who I thought played a little bit better than 2023. He's pretty solid. I think there's more meat on the bone there. Then you had Cam Pruitt, true freshman. He came in and put in some good snaps. But we were still relatively thin at that position. Darius Hayes didn't really get a ton of snaps. I would love to see him get a lot more snaps as a sophomore. Big kid, great size, great speed, someone we stole from Florida. I can't wait to see him get on the field. But here's the issue with Coach D. Nick leaving. He definitely was a favorite of some of the players. Like, he was their guy. So, don't be surprised if there's a little bit of attrition in that roster come the spring portal window. Hopefully not a lot. Hopefully we do a little bit of damage control. Whenever there's coach movement, there's always going to be player movement to follow, especially in this NIL transfer portal era. So keep an eye on that. But my question to you guys, are you okay with that change? Assuming, Coach D. Nick, obviously great recruiter, great relationship guy. So losing him, if you were to lose some guys, maybe even some prominent guys, possibly, hopefully not. But if you do, are you okay with that change? Would you have wanted to keep him for the sole reason of, hey, he helps us bring in talent? Or are you like me, that you're like, you know what? I want to see a full culture change on that side of the ball, just like we saw on offense. On offense last year, I saw execution. I saw discipline. I saw us performing at a high level and clicking on all cylinders, all positions, top to bottom, tight end, running back, receiver, and of course, quarterback. Defense, I saw a total breakdown. I saw literally the complete opposite. So I want to see that culture change on that side of the ball. And if that means cleaning house, coach-wise, hey, then that's probably what you got to do. To me, it is more important to see a defensive coordinator come in, bring in his own guys. They may not be big name guys, but let him bring in his own guys. That way, and this is the key here, that way, everyone is on the same page. Because one of the things that killed us, absolutely killed us last year on the field, was guys not being on the same page, lots of miscommunication. hearing one thing from one coach and another thing from another coach, from what I understand, from what I've heard. So instead of, I forgot who said this, I don't want to take credit, but I heard someone maybe in a group chat or that I'm in, or maybe one of these shows, instead of just hiring a bunch of names, a bunch of mercenaries, let this DC bring in his guys. So everyone is on the same page. That's what I want. You may take a slight step back because you maybe lose a few players as a result. Hey, that's okay. Because remember, the portal giveth and the portal taketh away. So maybe you lose a few guys, but that opens up spots. Now we know Mario's a killer when it comes to player acquisition, so I'm not too concerned there. It's just you're going to be bringing in, you're going to have to plug in some holes and not have a lot of time to get those guys up to speed. That would be my only concern. Similar concern on offense with Carson Beck. He's not, because of his elbow procedure, he's not going to be able to play the spring. So you're going to have to really get him up to speed, and he will have to get himself up to speed with the receivers real quick during the summer. So a lot of that possibly happening this offseason. Not ideal, but you still got the talent to overcome. Will you have the coaching? That's the key. Let's see. Juan Manuel John here to say good riddance to the landscape regime and his holdovers. Keep Jason Taylor. Yeah. Wouldn't mind keeping JT. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of his from his time with the Dolphins, and what he's done as a coach and as a recruiter so far. But if you lose him too, if you have to just clean house completely, hey, then clean house completely. Start from scratch. Let Heatherman build his own staff on that side of the ball. Let's see, hit that. Oh, thank you, CF. Yes, please hit the like button. Have you seen or heard the noise? Hayton Lowe, linebacker, Wiley stirring up. I'm not too familiar with what is going on there just yet. I'll have to look into that. Bringing in talent, don't mean crap if you don't know how to coach and develop them. Facts, Frank. I 100% agree with you. Bringing in talent, it hasn't meant anything for 15, 20 years because we have brought in talent. We just haven't developed that talent into first rounders and second rounders. So the bringing in talent part's still important, though. Let's not lose sight of that. You still have to do that. But like I've been saying for a long time, as long as Mario's at the head, as long as he's the head of the snake, we are going to recruit just fine. And that's high school and portal. Talent acquisition will never lack while Mario Cristobal is here, okay? Because he will have the NIL in his back pocket, and we will be just fine in that regard. What matters more to me is hiring guys that are teachers. Get me guys that can teach football, that can teach proper angles, that can teach how to tackle in the open field. I mean, it's crazy that I have to say that. It's the college level, but if you don't coach bad habits out of players, those bad habits are going to come through, and that's what happened on the field this year. So you have to stay on them. The points you make on DC coaching are spot on. Oh, thank you, Reggie. Yeah, I think we just need a fresh start on that side. It was so bad last year. You almost have to. Catch you next live chat at work. And Mario's cleaning house and defensive staff. Will he keep Jason Taylor? That's the question. Let's see. I'm sure he wants to, because again, great recruiter. I know it's still important to Mario, but you can see Mario's perspective change a little bit now because he's starting to go after guys that are more teachers than anything. Because you have a couple great ones on the offensive side of the ball. You got Kevin Beard, who look at, okay, who's gotten better under his watch? Almost everybody. Basically, the three main guys, Horton, Jacoby, and X, this past season, they all got better from 2023 to 2024. Okay, they all got a lot of targets, a lot of catches, a lot of production from all three of those guys. Before Coach KP got here, those guys were all here, but they weren't producing the same. They were a little younger, whatever. But you saw a big jump these last 2 seasons, especially from X. Okay, he wasn't that guy when he first got here. We saw flashes of it, but he turned into X we know once Kevin Beard was here. So that's number one. Number two is Alex Mirabal. Alex Mirabal, amazing offensive line teacher. You know that position and the wide receiver position are going to be just fine as long as those two guys are there. They are going to get the most out of their talent, for the most part. But yeah, that's just my thought on the whole coaching thing. Just wanted to get your guys' take, your guys' thoughts on losing Coach D. Nick. Hate to lose a guy because I like Derek Nicholson. But it is what it is. Didn't work out here with that regime. It just didn't work. So best of luck to him. Like I always say, and I honestly mean that. But now, recruiting wise, speaking of recruiting, we are starting to turn the page to the 2026 class as far as the high school recruiting class. Recruiting out of high school, in my opinion, is still very, very important. It's still the foundation. It's just like the NFL. It's like the draft, right? You build through the draft, you supplement through free agency being the transfer portal. You need both. You cannot neglect the high school ranks. Now, this 2026 class, they're about to become seniors, right? They're about to become seniors in high school. They just finished playing their junior season. So a lot of that class is still undecided. It's the beginning of the cycle. So I feel like what we did on the field this season, I thought it would have a little bit more of an effect on the 2025 class. I was wrong. But, from talking to people and they're right. Like I had a couple of people tell me, no, look, you want to, as far as that 10-win season, it's going to positively affect more of the younger guys, 2026, 2027, those guys, because they're still, they still have a lot of options. They're still deciding. They're just starting to, take all those recruiting trips. Seeing us have that 10-win season and all those games on national TV and being on College Game Day when we went up to play Cal, and being talked about every single day on ESPN because of Cam Ward and his Heisman run and all that. All good things, all good exposure. Being one win away from the playoff, that's good exposure for these young kids to see. So I think it will have a positive effect on this class. That being said, a lot of top guys visiting campus in the coming weeks. As you know, I am not a recruiting guru. I'm not a recruiting guy. I will do homework on players once I start to find out about them and, give you guys my thoughts, but it's still the beginning of the cycle. So I'm going to start now doing my homework with that. But a couple of guys and you guys can tell me while I say this, go ahead and put it in the chat. What position group do you want us to really tackle in this upcoming class in the 2026 cycle? What do you want to see Mario just pump the pipe, fill the pipeline with? You know what I'm saying? This past season, it was DBs. The year before, defensive line. The cycle before, offensive line. So what do you think he should focus most of his attention on next? You let me know. Is it the running back room? Should he load up on receivers? Linebackers, maybe. You tell me. But I'm hoping that this is the class that we finally land the guy, last cycle, being 2024, or was it 24? Yeah, the 2024 cycle. That guy being Jeremiah Smith. Obviously, everyone in the country wanted him. We were really, really close to getting him. And look at him. He's a generational, once-in-a-lifetime kind of talent. And we were very close. We were very, very close to getting him. But we didn't. The class before, everyone thought, and I'm talking mainly wide receiver is my focus right now. The class before was Brandon Innes. He hasn't really turned into that just yet, but Brandon Innes was that guy the year before. Can't think of who it was the year before that, but I feel like every couple of years or so, there's always that guy that big time outside playmaker, that true number one that Miami always misses out on. And I was thinking about it. What high profile receivers have we recruited? And I mean like high profile, like 5-star or like borderline 4-5-star guys. And I'm thinking back, well, over the last like 10, 15 years, Stacey Coley, that was one. He was like the number 3 wide receiver in the country. He was a 5-star kid. Amon Richards, he was up there. He was like a top 15 receiver, played like a top 3 receiver. His career derailed by injuries, unfortunately. You could argue Jeff Thomas, maybe. And then beyond that, I feel like Chance, Nikar, and JoJo are 3 of the top 5 or 6 offensive like playmakers as far as hype and ranking that we've gotten over the past like 15 years or so. We haven't landed the best, like the top tier guys. And we're in South Florida. That's where all the top tier guys are as far as wide receivers and running backs and things like that. So I would love to see us get that guy. And that guy in this class, in my opinion, is Calvin Russell. Calvin Russell from Miami Northwestern. Just helped them win a state title. That guy is one of the best wide receiver prospects I've seen in a very, very, very long time. We missed out on Jeremiah Smith. He just watched us have a 10-win season. If we can follow that up with another solid year on the field, where we can honestly say, yes, it wasn't a one-year fluke, we are heading in the right direction, then you got to get that guy. Calvin Russell is in your backyard. He is a can't miss. Another one, in my opinion, that's a can't miss. I'm talking, the top bigger names right now. Derek Cooper, running back from Chaminade. Those are 2 guys that future NFL in your backyard, cannot let them go. And one of the ways you can't let them go is through your performance on the field. So let's see what happens there. Hayden Lowe. At the All-Star game, he should be getting his 5th star. He's bigger and younger than advertised. Yeah, Hayden Lowe, that was a great get towards the end of the cycle. I'm very excited about Hayden Lowe and Herbert Scroggins. I'm excited about both of them. Both good size, both very mature, and I think both will play early. Maybe it's a star. Yeah, and Wiley, I agree. Wiley's huge. I think that was a nice get, very underrated. And of course, in the upcoming class, you do have Darion Coleman, your quarterback recruit, who I hope we hang on to. I love Darion Coleman. I think his upside is through the freaking roof. His play is very Cam Ward-esque. Just looking at his confidence, his poise, his demeanor, his play style, very similar. I see a lot of similarities. He's a 3-star right now on 247, which is hilarious. But that's okay. I think they just not enough teams know about him yet. They will. Watch Darion Coleman's tape. It's sick. It's sick. Part of it is his size. He's listed as 5'11". I think he's grown a bit since then. I think he might be touching 6 feet. Listed at 165 pounds. He might be a touch bigger than that as well. I think as long as he grows, which he should, he's just a junior in high school. As long as he just grows a little bit. For example, Cam Ward is not much bigger than that. He's 6'1", 6'2", 200 pounds, 205 maybe. I think I've seen Cam listed as like 220, 215, 220. I don't know if I buy that, but not the biggest guy in the world, but that's okay. You can still hit it big in college as a quarterback without being the biggest guy. Let's see. Bryant hit the nail on the head. Overall team speed and athleticism. Yeah. Brian Sonone, thank you for that. Yeah, I touched on that in my last show. I would love to see us really focus on grabbing some speed all over the field, but specifically wide receiver, running back, DB, of course, as well. You need it there. But yeah, that special teams, that unit has not performed very well, really, for years now. I feel like I say that year in and year out. And when I say that special teams unit, I mean not just kicking and punting. we had the best kicker in the country and one of the best punters in the country. I'm talking our kickoff coverage, getting downfield fast, making tackles, not holding your breath as a fan every time they catch the ball at like the 3-yard line and they might return it. Every time they catch a returnable ball, I'm nervous. So I want to see our team fly down the field and bury that returner behind the 20, okay? Or just kick it through the end zone. I don't want to see any blocked punts like I saw in the bowl game against Rutgers last year. That could turn our game around. I don't want to see, the muff punts we saw last year. I don't want to see mistakes, and I want to see us block for our returners, get those consistent big returns where we're getting it to the 30, 35-yard line, those exciting returns that really gets the team going, I want to see more of that for whatever reason. That side of the ball also, like the defense, it just hasn't performed. So I need to see more speed there. And yeah, you're right. It used to be our bread and butter. That used to be the backbreaker. If we were in a close game back in the day, which wasn't very often, but if we were in a close game, sometimes a punt return by Roscoe Parrish for a touchdown where somebody, maybe Sean Taylor was on special teams and he threw a bone-crushing leading block, and there goes Roscoe to the house for a touchdown. That was the backbreaker. That would flip a game around completely. Yep. Sonoris Moss, another one, Santana Moss, all those track guys. I need to see some more of that. But I think that's Mario's next focus. Initially, it was getting the size. Guys that looked the part, size, power, then a little athleticism, guys that are tough, guys that like are Mario guys, And Travis Benjamin, another one. But now you got to start plugging in that speed. And he knows. When Mario got here, he knew. I want to have a bigger, stronger, faster team. Bigger, stronger, he's checked those 2 boxes off already. Now you gotta adjust faster now. That's the situation there. So more to come, I'm sure. This is just the beginning of the 2026 recruiting cycle. It's only mid-January. It's going to start to get more fun. So, we'll see what happens with these visits as we head into the spring and the summer. It's recruiting season's all year round, but now we're really like it's the off season, so it's like they're hitting the ground running. Who do you think got the better DC, Clemson or Miami? Yeah, here's the thing. There's no way to tell with coordinators. Again, that was another thing I was talking about on my last show. There's no way to tell with coordinators until your team steps on the field, honestly, and plays like 5 or 6 games that you hired the right guy. Again, I will say it. I think we hired the right type of guy. Did we hire the right guy? I need to see the result. I can't. I'm not going to go based off hype. I got very excited for Lance Guidry 2 years ago. And his first year, he was good. So it's like, oh, man, we got one there. It didn't work out in the second year. So you never know, man. They have to gel with the players they have. It's super important. So I know it's the cop-out answer, but seriously, I don't know. Let's see. We had Chris Johnson. He did nothing. Let me ask you about Chris Johnson. Your opinion, because I've gone back and forth on this myself. Yeah, Chris, he didn't really produce here, but they put him back there returning kicks, right? I don't think they blocked for him very well, to be quite honest with you. There was one that he could have broken. I want to say, what game was it? Cal or USF, one of those games we were down at the half. And he almost busted one for a touchdown, I remember. And he got like tripped up. The Virginia Tech game. I think it was the Virginia Tech game. Right before the half, I was at the game, and he almost took one to the house. He got like tripped up by the last guy. Didn't really produce a lot as a kick returner. Didn't really get used as a running back. VT, yes. Yeah, you know the play I'm talking about. Perfect. They kicked it. I think it was a bouncing ball. They kicked it on the ground. He scooped it up in stride, and there was a big hole. And he should have had a touchdown. But, yeah, I didn't use him much at running back. you'd line him up out there and like maybe as a decoy. Even if you had done that, use Chris Johnson as a decoy if you want to like get the attention of the secondary, because he would come into the game and players would be pointing to him immediately. They knew how fast he was. So I don't understand why you didn't at least use that as a weapon. Juan says he was a hesitant runner. Yeah. Yeah, he didn't always have the best instincts as a runner, but still, that type of speed, you should be able as a coach to find a way to use that as a weapon. And this is where my criticism of Mario and Shannon Dawson to a degree come in, because yes, playing time. Another one is Brashard Smith. So these are two good examples. You got Brashard Smith, you got Chris Johnson. Now I know Brashard also had some off the field stuff. It's not the same situation at all. But I feel like on the field, similar situations. Both explosive, both very, very fast. You miss a tackle and they're both gone. I feel like that type of player, this staff didn't quite know how to utilize. But it's just, I feel like as a good coach should be able to use that player to his strengths, whatever they are. You know what I'm saying? So if it's just pure elite speed, but maybe that's all he has right now, you got to develop other stuff. Okay. Why not have him run a drag route? Line him up at wide receiver, which they should have done a lot more of with Chris Johnson. Line him up at receiver. Have him drag across the middle, get him matched up with a linebacker, that poor linebacker, and bye. What a just a simple way to dump it off to him, get him the ball in stride, in space, and where he's just got to turn the corner. He doesn't have to do too much. So that's one way. They tried to use him on bubble screens a couple of times. To go start and stop like that, I'd like to hit him on the run. Quick slant, same thing. Hit him on the run, quick pass in space. Just take the corner on somebody. We schemed Arroyo open, but outside runs or screens were lacking. I agree. The screen game wasn't always the best. Let me think how else we could have used him. What about a jet sweep? Or like a reverse? Jet sweeps, reverses, again, easy way to basically hand him the ball in space where he's just got to use his speed and turn the corner. That's where I feel like if you're not a Mario kind of player, and when I say a Mario kind of player, I mean like a Mark Fletcher, a Jordan Lyle, bigger guy, runs through arm tackles, is tough, north-south runner. Like that's more of a Mario kind of running back. I didn't think Chris Johnson was a Mario kind of player. So it doesn't shock me that he didn't quite know how to use him. But that's where he has to get better. Again, Brashard, that was a different scenario, but I feel like he could have been utilized way better. That's just my thought. You know, you got explosive guys like that. What can you do if Chris Johnson running scared? Well, you put him in situations like I'm saying, just dump where he doesn't have to like think too much. Just dump it off to him on a drag route and let him go. Let him use that pure speed, and then just develop other stuff as you go. Because if he runs a drag and takes two defenders with him because of his speed, right there, that opens somebody else up. His speed is a weapon, just him being out there. That's just my opinion on the whole thing. Certain guys, I feel like they didn't know how to use. That's my criticism. If we didn't have so many close games, I truly believe we could have utilized more screens, especially towards the end of this half, to catch defense off guard. I mean, yeah, you have a good point. Why we were in a lot of those close games, I don't know. That's beyond me, but that's a story for another day. We need speed, though. Murray needs to change the template, especially at the skill spots. I do agree with that, and I think he is. I think he is trying to get more speed. That's why he went after and got Nikar. Nikar's a speed demon. JoJo, very, very quick. Pretty good speed. Not Chris Johnson speed, but pretty good. Chris Wheatley Humphrey, another super fast guy. Gerard Pringle is another one that's like one cut and gone. So he's trying to bring in that speed. You can tell. You can tell he's kind of changed his tune on that, and now he's starting to bring in those guys that run like 10.8s and 10.7s on the track that could bring that world-class speed to the field. I feel like that's roster-wise, talent-wise, that's the one thing that's missing. I feel like we have everything else. Trenches, we're solid. Height, weight, I think we're good. Good size. I think we got good depth at a lot of positions now. Just get that game-breaking speed. Pringle better than Chris Johnson. Let's see if he knows how to use him. That's on Dawson, not Mara. The OC has to scheme up plays for speedy players. Yeah, no, I feel you. That's why I said, to Dawson to a degree. Mario, I don't know how much he has his hands in the offensive play calling, or the offensive, not play calling, the game planning, if you will, during the week. As a coach, even though he's not this like an X's and O's coach, he's got to be able to recognize, hey, I've got this guy that runs a 4-2. I'm going up against Team X from the ACC. They got a couple of guys out in the secondary. Hey, maybe I could take this 4-2 guy and create some big plays. Doesn't take a rocket scientist, you know what I'm saying? And you just find a way to do it. Jeremiah Smith, I think he can be Hall of Fame good. Oh, Hall of Fame good, and he North Broward kid, yeah. Explosiveness, we do need explosiveness. That's for sure. But yeah, that's just what I wanted to comment on today. But as for the 2026 class, and I'll end with this, definitely need to find a couple of superstars, a couple of future high NFL draft picks at the running back position, at the wide receiver position. That's my concern for this upcoming class. I have no concern whatsoever of the trenches on both sides. I think O-line and D-line, I think, are going to be good next year and for years to come. I think the D-line had an off year this year. That's, again, D coordinator, we fixed that problem. I'm not concerned about the D-line. I would like to load up on linebacker a little bit. That would be great. But my big concern is get those elite guys at wide receiver, get those elite guys at running back. Let's start getting those guys that are like next level. I think with JoJo, we're going to get a taste of that. JoJo Trader, I think, is that guy. Running back, we'll see if Jordan Lyle lives up to the hype he built up for himself as a freshman. Because we've seen guys come in as freshmen, and then they kind of, they get a little better, they plateau, they don't quite take that next step. Jordan Lyle, if he continues this trajectory of what he started as a freshman, really, he should be the starter next year if he continues the way he's going. Mark Fletcher will have something to say about that, and I hope he does. I hope there's a great competition there. But you got a two-headed monster at running back that if they both stay on their trajectories, oh my God, you got two studs in the backfield. And look at the teams in the playoffs right now. All of them can do what? Run the football. So you need that. Stop letting OSU continue to take the best wide receiver out of our backyard every year. Yeah, unfortunately, you got that to contend with. And they might be about to win a national championship this year. So, it is what it is. But all we can do is continue to build the program, continue to keep trying to win. But I think a Miami program that's winning has a much better chance of keeping those guys here. Because I would take a winning Miami program over an Ohio State any day. Miami program that's trying to build something and all that stuff, they can negatively recruit against us. They can use that against us. Like, hey, you might not ever see the playoffs there. You might not, they won't know how to develop you. Whatever they try to tell kids, they can keep saying that until we prove it on the field and start winning. Start winning a little more consistently. If you can tack on another 10-win season on top of this one that we just had, I really believe that most South Florida uber talented players are going to look at Miami and think, you know what? Miami's starting to win now. I believe. I see what Cristobal's doing. That's going to be the new Ohio State now, as far as like wide receiver You know what I'm saying? So that's all we can do, really. Because money wise, we can get, if it was just NIL, we can go out and get pretty much whoever we wanted, in my opinion. We'd have to, we're not number one as far as NIL, but I think we're like top 5, top 6. We can go out and get, or at least compete for pretty much whoever we want. There's other things. There's the relationship, I think, matters a little bit still. Not like before, but it still matters a bit. The coach you're going to be playing for, the quarterback's going to be throwing you the ball. Those things matter. But yes, we are competitive. We're more than competitive. I think we're a great NIL. Curious to see who shakes loose in that wide receiver position in the spring portal. Because now that you got Beck, now that you hired a new DC, Mario is showing that he's serious and he wants to win now. You don't go out and spend the money on a Carson Beck unless you're trying to win now. I think a receiver is going to see that and maybe come to. It's not going to be Jeremiah. Let's stop that right now. But I think we can bring somebody in that could be a true number one. All right, guys. So please hit the like button and the subscribe button. As always, thank you for the support. Please do me a favor, enjoy your weekend. And as always, go Canes.